Kia ora koutou, ko Martin von Randow, tōku ingoa. Uh, as Steph said, we just moved into new offices about almost a year ago, and new offices, actually, it's a renovated building which is meters away on the same floor as the offices we were in 2005 when I started working with the group that became Compass. Data manager slash analyst has always been my title, but I'm referring to myself more as a data manager recently because it covers more of the things that I'm involved with. I've always been involved with census and more recently IDI data analysis. Also the administration of our website. We've got more recently a YouTube channel where the recordings from this session will end up along with those from our colloquium last week, and seminar recordings going back to 2019, I think, when we sort of started that in a very timely fashion. We associate with the Virtual Health Information Network, which is also partly responsible for our courses in IDI research. We've got the big banner there, and that has a Facebook group that is generally a sort of a support group for people using administrative data, as it were, and also looking at sort of, upskilling people. And more recently in that field, Stats New Zealand has their own ID Commons for people discussing integrated data and administrative data usage and any issues. And the administration of our short course programs, the courses that Steph mentioned in November represents our 20th year of running courses in research methods, following the example of the Australian Consortium for Social and Political Research Incorporated, AXPRI, and we use a lot of the instructors that they have used over the years as well. But finally, what I want to talk to you about mainly today is the administration of surveys. Take you back a really long way. As I said, we were in 2005, we were within the Department of Sociology. Peter Davis, our founding director, got the head of department job there in 2005 and set up the Social Statistics Research Group originally. He had been involved in a lot of health-related surveys prior to that, culminating in the National Primary Medical Care Survey in 2002 and 3. And when I came on board at the end of 2004, the end of 2003, and I'm a studentship working on that project, actually an arm of it involving emergency department data. And then he was very aware of the limitations of data collection, and especially the not exactly full utilization of data that had been collected, especially in the health sector. And the focus really moved on to secondary data analysis. We got access to census data in 2005, and then census, also data preservation. He'd been involved in a lot of those surveys, and we set up the New Zealand Social Science Data Service in 2007, which was an online interface that we stored data from the New Zealand Election Study, the International Social Survey Program, World Internet Project, and NatMedCa, NYMedCa, earlier health studies that Peter had been involved with, and some earlier work. But that was an expensive option for us, and we didn't really see the uptake that it needed. And in 2016, the University of Auckland set up a repository through Figshare that we then have a little corner of, where most of the data from our previous holdings now live. And we also, for a lot of the surveys that we run, we set up visualizations through Shiny to sort of allow people to graph the basic opinion variables predominantly by age and gender. And we also, people answering the survey, it's like, if you want to find out more about this, fill in this and we'll let you know when that sort of thing is available. Okay. In terms of the surveys that we have run, in 2011, we were then thinking about doing surveys again rather than just the secondary analysis, as I talked about. Jack Vowles, who run the New Zealand Election Study since 1990, was in the University of Exeter at the time and contracted us to run the survey as a domestic group. And that kind of opened the floodgates in terms of what we were then on the market for running surveys, and some of the other things we've done over the years. We've worked with colleagues at the University of Auckland who are Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei to do a census type survey of their hapu. And from 2013 onwards, we've been running the International Social Survey Program surveys for New Zealand. Phil Gendel at Massey University had run it from 1991 to 2010 in New Zealand and then retired, and no one took it over. So we've been running those since 2013, and just finishing up the post-stratification waiting for the 2023 survey that we finished in February, and trying to get funding for the 2024 survey. In 2015, we were housed within the same building as the Centre for Pacific Studies, and I worked with Jemima Tia South on 2 studies of surveys of Pacific families bereaved by suicide, and then the providers of care to Pacific families bereaved by suicide. And more recently, we worked with the Ngāti Hawa Iwi Trust on a survey of housing in their community, based on the papakainga, people moving back to live on those grounds. And a much more large scale, previously our surveys had been sending out questionnaires in large envelopes with saying, if you want to complete this online, here is an option, but we're sending you out this questionnaire and a pen. There are pens in the bags. We were no longer able to send pens. There was a time when we had 3,000 pens left over, and they said, well, you can't do this anymore because our new scanners at New Zealand Post they want uniform thickness of the envelope. So rather than unpicking 5,000 envelopes, we just had to take the extra cost. But now we have still 2,000 pens in the cupboards. So please enjoy the pens. I added them to the bag earlier on. But then this Te Ao Marama, the Maori Health and Wellbeing Study, which had a focus on disability and people's experiences, was, instead of just sending out 6,000 large envelopes with questionnaires, we sent out 70,000 small envelopes saying, complete this survey online. And that got a huge, at a 10% response rate, but 7,000 respondents, which was quite a different experience from what we were used to. And then earlier this year, we worked with a group from Te Pairoa on a survey of Maori creatives professionals and their experiences with misappropriation and misuse of their works. And that was a unique experience in that it was originally called the Voices of 100 Maori Creatives, but they ended up with 150 people responding when we're used to the sort of 20% response rates for our mail surveys. So that was that sort of caps off our experience for now. We are looking at the moment at hopefully turning the Te Ao Marama into a panel of people to answer surveys going forward, but we've had experience with trying that in the past, and it's very challenging. But working with that challenge of the response rates is something and funding is something that we is always interesting. But we've had a lot of experience with community groups running surveys, and that has also led to further connections. And we're always open to anyone wanting to run surveys in the areas of our familiarity.